Hello, good morning. Welcome to Important Old News. Today is June 23rd, 2022. The title of today's episode is Doing Less Time for Murder Than for a Nonviolent Crime. And basically today I'm going to go over three different cases. Two of them are going to be cases involving a conviction of second-degree murder, and the third one is a nonviolent crime. And the two second-degree murder cases have a more lenient sentences than the nonviolent crime. All three cases happened in the United States, all of them in the 2010s, so they're relatively recent. So let's get started. All right, the first case is an article that was published very recently, yesterday, June 22nd, 2022. It's from the Associated Press. The author is Ed White, and this is via Fox 21 Local News, Colorado Springs. The title is 17-year sentence sticks for a man who killed woman on porch. A Detroit area man who said he feared for his life when he fatally shot a young woman on his porch in 2013 was given the same 17-year prison sentence Wednesday at a new hearing ordered by the Michigan Supreme Court. Excuse me. Ted Wafer was convicted of second-degree murder and involuntary manslaughter in the death of Renisha McBride in Dearborn Heights. But about halfway through Wafer's prison term, the Supreme Court in February unanimously threw out the manslaughter conviction, saying he could not be punished twice for the same homicide. Wayne County Judge Dana Hathaway said the prison sentence won't change. 15 years for second-degree murder plus 2 years for using a gun during a crime, which Wafer has already served. She noted that the murder sentence still was within the scoring guidelines. Wafer, 63 years old, gets credit for roughly 8 years in custody, making him eligible for parole in 2031. Wafer has been a model prisoner, but the facts remain the same, the judge said. You cannot murder someone for simply knocking on your door in the middle of the night. You had choices, Hathaway said. Wafer opened his front door and shot McBride, who was 19 years old, through a screen door before dawn. He said he was awakened by pounding and feared for his life, though he didn't call police first. A jury rejected his self-defense claim. Prosecutors speculated that McBride, who was drunk and had crashed her car hours earlier, might have been confused when she arrived on Wafer's porch. I remain terribly sorry, Wafer said Wednesday. Wafer is white and McBride was black. Some people wondered in the aftermath of the shooting whether race was a factor, likening it to the 2012 shooting of Florida teenager Trayvon Martin. But race was hardly mentioned during Wafer's trial in 2014. Holidays are no longer holidays because we have no joy, McBride's mother, Monica McBride, said in court. Every day is a living nightmare that we can't and won't wake up from. Excuse me. This is like my fifth take, so you'll have to bear with me. I don't have any video editing software, so I have to get the time under 15 minutes or I can't upload this. So, all right. Okay, so the first case involved Renisha McBride and Ted Wafer, and he was sentenced to 17 years for second-degree murder. Okay, just keep that in mind as we move on to the second case. Let me make sure we're still recording here. Okay, yeah, we are. All right, the second case was very famous nationwide, so you might remember it just from me reading the name. So let's get into it. It's the killing of Walter Scott. On April 4th, 2015, Walter Scott, a 50-year-old black man, was fatally shot by Michael Slager, a local police officer in North Charleston, South Carolina. Slager had stopped Scott for a non-functioning brake light. Slager was charged with murder after a video surfaced showing him shooting Scott from behind while Scott was fleeing, which contradicted Slager's report of the incident. The racial difference led many to believe that the shooting was racially motivated, generating a widespread controversy. The case was independently investigated by the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, the FBI, the Office of the U.S. Attorney General, District of South Carolina. The Justice Department Civil Rights Division also conducted their own investigation. In June 2015, a South Carolina grand jury indicted Slager on a charge of murder. He was released on bond on January 2016. In late 2016, a 5-week trial ended in a mistrial due to a hung jury. In May 2016, Slayer was indicted on federal charges, including violation of Scott's civil rights and obstruction of justice. In May 2017, plea agreement, Slager pleaded guilty to federal charges of civil rights violations, and he was returned to jail pending sentencing. In return for his guilty plea, the state's murder charges were dropped. In December 2017, Slager was sentenced to 20 years in prison, with the judge determining the underlying offense was second-degree murder. Alright, and real quick, there's some more information right here. On December 7, 2017, U.S. District Judge David C. Norton sentenced Slager to 20 years in prison. Although defense attorneys had argued for voluntary manslaughter, the judge agreed with prosecutors that the appropriate underlying offense was second-degree murder. Because there was no parole in the federal justice system, Slager will likely remain in prison for about 18 years after credit for time served. Alright, we don't need to get into the rest of that because we're going to be short on time. But real quick, just for perspective of this case, just so you know, I think it's important to show the video, the bystander video. It was captured on cell phone by a bystander. If this video wasn't captured, honestly, I don't think this case would be nationally known or very well known at all. So here's the video from the New York Times on YouTube. It's a video of the cell phone video shot by the bystander witnessing the shooting. Okay, that's pretty much the part that involves the shooting. And the video goes on and shows what happens afterward. Much of what happens afterward contradicts the statement of the officer involved in the shooting. So again, you can see the video yourself on YouTube. Just search Walter Scott, and that video right there was from the New York Times on YouTube. All right. So in summary, the second case, the killing of Walter Scott by Michael Slayer was determined to be a second-degree murder, to which Michael Slayer received 20 years in prison with 2 already served. So just keep that in mind. The first one, second-degree murder, 17 years. The second one, second-degree murder, 20 years. So 2 murder cases, second degree, were the 17 and 20 years. All right, respected for each case, different cases. All right, now let's move on to the third nonviolent crime that I wanted to talk about that actually had a proposed sentence longer than these 2 murder cases. Before we get into this case, though, I need to explain what JSTOR is. Real quick, JSTOR. Again, I'm reading this from Wikipedia. Its source, you can check it out yourself, or you can visit JSTOR's own website. That's jstor.org. JSTOR is short for Journal Storage, and it's a digital library founded in 1995 in New York City. Originally containing digitized back issues of academic journals, it now encompasses books and other primary sources, as well as current issues of journals in the humanities and social sciences. It provides full text searches for almost 2,000 journals. So that's pretty much what JSTOR is in a nutshell. All right, and the reason you need to know what that is because this third case involves JSTOR. It is known also, this is from Wikipedia. You could check it out. It's all sourced. You can read it yourself. This is known as the Aaron Swartz incident. Okay, so real quick, in late 2010 and early 2011, Aaron Swartz, an American computer programmer, writer, political organizer, and internet activist, used MIT, that's the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, he was also a student there, data network to bulk down. So he used MIT's data network to bulk download a substantial portion of JSTOR's collection of academic journal articles. When the bulk download was discovered, a video camera was placed in the room to film the mysterious visitor, and the relevant computer was left untouched. So they left a hidden camera to figure out who's downloading this information, or these, journal documents from JSTOR. Once the video was captured of the visitor, the download was stopped and Swartz was identified. Rather than pursue a civil lawsuit against him, in June 2011 they reached a settlement wherein he surrendered the downloaded data. The following month, federal authorities charged Swartz with several data theft-related crimes, including wire fraud, computer fraud, unlawfully obtaining information from a protected computer, and recklessly damaging a protected computer. Prosecutors in the case claimed that Swartz acted with the intention of making the papers available on P2P file-sharing sites. Swartz surrendered to authorities, pleaded not guilty to all counts, and was released on $100,000 bail. In September 2012, U.S. attorneys increased the number of charges against Swartz from 4 to 13 charges, with a possible penalty of 35 years in prison and $1 million in fines. The case was still pending when Swartz committed suicide in January 2013. Prosecutors dropped the charges after his suicide. And hold on while I load the next part of this article. I just wanted to note that these documents that he was downloading are not secret documents. They're not government documents. They're not top secret documents. They're not classified documents. They're already published issues of academic journals on this online digital library. And obviously that's illegal, but still, it just makes you wonder why he was facing 35 years and actually 50 years compared to the 17 and 20 years compared to the second-degree murder, the two second-degree murder cases. So, real quick, he was actually facing a little bit more than 30, according to this part. On September 12, 2012, federal prosecutors filed a superseding indictment adding 9 more felony counts, increasing Swartz's maximum criminal exposure to 50 years of imprisonment and $1 million in fines. During plea negotiations with Swartz's attorneys, the prosecutors offered to recommend a sentence of 6 months in a low-security prison if Swartz pled guilty to 13 federal crimes. Swartz and his lead attorney rejected the deal, opting instead for a trial where prosecutors would be forced to justify their pursuit of him. Alright, the federal prosecution involved was characterized by numerous critics as overcharging, overzealous. Swartz died by suicide on January 11th, 2013. After his death, federal prosecutors dropped the charges on December 4th, 2013, due to the Freedom of Information Act suit filed by the investigators, editor of Wired magazine. Several documents related to the case were released by the Secret Service, including a video of Swartz entering the MIT network closet. Okay, so in summary, those were the 3 cases I wanted to talk about. Case number 1, Renisha McBride killed or murdered on what was determined to be second degree murder on the porch of Ted Wafer, who shot her through a screen door. He said he heard the banging on the door and feared for his life. He didn't call the cops, but he just shot her through the screen door. She was 19 years old, and she died. Second case, Walter Scott. That was the sort of nationally famous case involving the officer shooting him in the back. That was on the video we just saw. In that case, he actually had a hung jury first, but then he finally pled guilty rather than face trial or the federal trial. The hung jury was on the state trial, I believe, and he got 20 years. So, guy shooting 19-year-old through the screen door on the porch, 17 years. Cop shooting someone in the back, second degree murder, 20 years. Mr. Aaron Swartz downloading academic journals that had already been published. Was also illegal, but nothing classified. He was facing 50 years. So that's all I want to talk about. We're running really short on time. It just makes you think about how there's no reason or rhyme to some of our punishments in our justice systems. I don't have all the answers. Maybe we could impose like a maximum sentence for nonviolent crimes. We have 10 seconds left, so let me know what you think, and we'll see you next time on Important Old News.